2025. It's the IPS morning deprogram. Just a couple of updates. I've been doing some development on the Discord. The idea with Discord is to blow it up like our first one, but better this time. I've added a couple of features, like there's I think it's the deprogrammer and the auto hoaxer level, which is essentially like a monthly thing, which is pretty much going to be used to pay for Discord related features. Bots, for example. There are upgrades you can get which allow you to upload larger and larger files. So there's quite a few things that you can get out of Discord, and it is a very useful tool. And it's also a way for people who don't want to call in and give away their locations to just get in through Discord, get in the chat when we start doing live streams again, which it won't be long. This is a temporary break, but I'm making use of the time. I'll be back in not an office space, but I'm getting into a more art studio type place. And again, the reason has to be is simply that an office space isn't really appropriate for producing large amounts of art. You don't have the facilities for it, and the walls were so thin that I was just afraid I was destroying people's inner children, because like the therapist next door, the Reiki person, and I think there was a chiropractor, but it's like I know they can hear me through the walls and I'm just droning on about the news. That can't be. I don't know. I was trying to be polite, so I restricted my hours, but that's not really a winning strategy. I used to work 14 to 18 hours a day, every single day. I don't take days off. And to have my workflow restricted because I'm in an environment where I have to keep my voice down, that's really not a way to go forward. So that's why I terminated the lease. And right now I'm hunting for a new place. I have a few ideas though, parts of town I'm looking at. So I'll have something. My guess is probably by the middle of August, by the time we release our AI-generated remake of Newsbenders, which is coming along nicely. So if any of you have any interest in generative AI and video production, we're kind of creating it live because they rate limit you. So I have the Google Gemini Ultra, but I can still only output about 5 clips a night, which, as you can understand, is very limiting. But that's not a big deal, because what I'm doing is I'm just spreading it out over a couple of weeks. But those clips are coming out pretty well, and I've learned how to optimize it. For example, I would give a section of the script to the Gemini, and it would put the wrong words in the wrong character's mouth. Or, because it's giving you 8-second clips, it's rushing, so everybody sounds like they've had too much coffee. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and just slow it down. I'll do one person speaking at a time, and I'll put it together in editing after. But what I'm impressed by with Google Gemini is I'm uploading the pictures of the original actors from Newsbenders and using them. Eric Stevens says, rent Heisenberg's RV and head into the desert. Well, the guy that does the RV tours is still driving around. I see him all the time. Because I often sit in that parking lot where Walter White has the Mr. Car Wash. And my walking paths used to lead me by one of the houses, and the family there put orange cones outside because too many Breaking Bad fans want to come sneak around the house. All right, let's see who's arrived. Kevin Mooring, Junders, Rocky, Plain Decoded, Eric Stevens, McDirtywork, the Black Hand Side. Yeah, there's that substance up there in the stratosphere. It appears to be partially blocking the sun. It's got a lot of people concerned. Not me, I'm not worried about it. But for the most part, Gemini has the best voice sync, because I thought I was going to have to produce a lot of content like just the video aspects, and then do the audio in a separate program and sync it. Sort of like what we did with South Pole. But voice syncing is time-consuming, laborious process, and this is streamlined. It's scarily good. And one thing you can be assured of is that it's just going to get better. So if you have any, and so we have other ideas as well. So I have this concept I'm working on, and writing is easy these days if you're willing to work with AI and what it can do. It doesn't write for you any more than Word. You know, I mean, it's a word processing. You know, you have certain tools, but it doesn't really do it for you. It's kind of a misunderstanding. But we had this idea of a series, like a weekly series like South Pole. And it could still be cartoon. It really can be. It doesn't, in fact, that's one of the things you can do is you don't have to use these generic AI looking people. But it's going to be behind the scenes, you know, kind of like 30 Rock. There was that TV show about the group of people, the creatives behind the TV show. But this would be a show about the people behind the psyops. And it'd be shot in the same kind of a manner. So the director would be Kubrick, probably. And every episode would just be behind the scenes, their own lives kind of nonchalant, but against the backdrop of whatever psyop they happen to be working on that day. So, for example, they're just having a casual conversation, and there in the back there's a bunch of people with fake head wounds being applied. How many AI did you mess with before you came to settle on Gemini? I've tried pretty much everything. You know, Sora's pretty good. I get great results with them, but Gemini's got, again, I think it's the best that I've tried out of anything that does voice syncing. I didn't expect the voices. But at this point, everyone's in competition. And they're all delivering the same thing. And they're kind of throttling it with these rate limits, and they say it's to save the environment. I'm calling bullshit. They'll say, oh, we have to have these massive villages just full of nothing but cooling facilities for hard drives, and it's taken a toll on Mother Earth. Every NFT you generate, every AI generated video is putting out this much carbon sin, pissing off the weather gods. And I'm like, no, this green thing, they brought it up with Bitcoin. It's just another excuse to regulate. I could have put out the entire movie when the first night I got the software. They don't need this whole premise of we have to limit you to 5 videos per day because of the environment. Do you realize how fake that is? I used to joke about how at some point they're going to rate limit how many steps you can take outside of your house in a day. But they're essentially doing it, and nobody's rejecting the premise. Like, well, we got to save the environment. I actually hear people on YouTube who are environmentalists, who are mad at AI because they think it's going to destroy Gaia. Like, it's bad enough that the conspiracy theorists think that AI is the devil and they're scared of it, and it's going to take over in some way. And it will, in the same way that a shovel took over the job of your hands digging holes. I mean, I don't understand the issues people have with it, but again, right fears it for one reason, left fears it for another. What's up? Okay, let's... Oh, there's a new Running Man coming out, by the way. I saw a trailer yesterday. I went to go see Fantastic Four. And what I've come up with, what I've determined to be the case with Fantastic Four, and it's the same thing with Superman. And I noticed this pattern. I'm like, why does Superman have a robot servant with the number 4 on his chest? I mean, he's got a few of them, but that's the one he talks to. So then I watched Fantastic Four, and Herbie the robot has a number 4 on his chest. So I see these 2 movies back to back, and whenever movies are released in a group, like in a cluster, they tend to carry a lot of the same messaging. Like between these ones, Final Destination, and Thunderbolts, it's all about something from the sky. But with Superman, you have the Sky Savior, and at the beginning of the movie, he's like, I lost my first fight in 33 years or something, or 33 decades, 3 years, 3 months. So the story is a 33-year-old sun god savior comes down from the heavens. And when he needs to recharge his powers, he goes up into the sun. That's kind of the basic story there. So I watched Fantastic Four, and I'm like, okay, well, what's the deal here with the Fantastic Four and their role? Because see, these 4 astronauts go to space in a big obelisk, big symbol of the death and resurrection, symbol of Osiris. They go up into space, they get hit by some cosmic rays, which is probably a reference to Ra, the sun god, and they come down with superpowers, and they become mankind's saviors. And I'm not done going through it, but I'm trying to figure out, is there some kind of significance to the 4 characters? Like the Thing is like Earth, the fire guy, Human Torch, obviously fire, like, fire, water, earth, air, 4 seasons, the 4 evangels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then you have the baby being the quintessence, the spirit. So I kind of get the idea is that what they're actually doing here is they are supplying the masses with a set of myths. So like you can't escape it. I'm not saying they're trying to convert people to Christianity. I'm saying that the same iconography, the same archetypes, the same myths that were repackaged into Christianity are in media right now. But I think they're much older. So this sun worship stuff. And 4 is often associated with the idea of the sun itself, the cross, the solar cross, because of the 4 seasons. And so you have this repeated theme in both of these movies where mankind is saved. And so the bad guy in the Fantastic Four is like Saturn. He literally wants to eat the baby. He devours planets. He's got these horns on his head. So you got Saturn, and then you have the child. And so it's like the sun. And so there's this, and I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but if you look at it through that lens of they're introducing to the public repackaged version of ancient myths, it makes perfect sense. And it's just part of our standard paradigm. No different than Noah's flood repackaged with climate change and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration's warnings of a flood. So Noah. It's always about Noah. And they just update the concept of wickedness. Now it's your carbon footprint. But again, my point is, these movies have a repeated theme, and it's connected to this sun savior. And in this Fantastic Four is no different. The baby, even there's certain phrases, if you watch it closely, you're listening with this lens, it's like, yeah, this is... Again, I don't think they're surreptitiously putting Christianity into movies. I think that the mythological basis, the astrotheological basis for Christianity is being put into our movies as well. Anyone else feeling deja vu right now? I'm sure it's just a misfiring in my brain. I had another very bizarre book synchronicity, which I happen to have quite a bit. I'm reading this real strange one, Discover the Power of Art for Good and Evil, the Marrow Tree. And it's science fiction, which I tend to read a lot of. And it's about the arrest and trial of one of the galaxy's more famous entertainers. I haven't finished it yet, but I had this conversation with somebody about my inability to relax, that I have no inner peace, and that because I was invited to a pool party, and I'm like, I couldn't settle down. Well, I opened up this book, and it's exactly on the page where they land on this planet populated by these individuals called the Peaceful Ones. And the objective to taking him there was to give him a break from his constant touring and force him to relax. And he gives this speech about how he cannot relax, and that it's not compatible with how he views life. And I was like, that's really strange. Like, I often see myself reflected in these characters in books, which I know it's just my monkey brain searching for patterns. But I think these patterns are so interesting, I like to point them out. Like, if I see a cloud in the shape of a couch or something, I point it out to somebody. Or a face. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying it's literally a face. Although there are people who say that the faces they see in mountains are literally from giants, which is very childish thinking. Blackhand Side says, the AI artificial intelligence had a great hospital visit scene. I'll have to take a look. Someone recommended another movie as well. So I can find it. I do my due diligence. I keep up with Netflix. And what I also do is I crowdsource, because I can't possibly watch everything and I don't play all the video games. But as we've been noting, there's a consistent pattern. It's actually structural. It's the entrainment between the release dates of movies and video games with specific propaganda messaging that hit the marketplace concurrent with some pre-planned, staged, fake news event. I mean, this is 101. I mean, all of us here already understand this stuff, but you have to remember that red pillers have no clue. That there are still a lot of people out there on the red pill side who think that people die in psyops. If you think people die in false flags, then what's your reason? And generally the people who say so, they say it's blood magic, it's satanic, and it's rituals. And it's like, no, that actually, there's a big hole in that whole premise, a big flaw, which is non-disclosure agreements are invalidated if you commit crimes and expect people to cover up crimes. NDAs don't cover crimes. So they wouldn't be murdering people. And it would make as much sense to kill somebody in a hoaxed event as it would while making a movie, which is to say, no sense at all. And the burden of proof is on the claim maker. And if the mainstream media can't prove somebody died because they can't show us any evidence, then how is some media advocate defending the story going to do it? And it's just especially sad when you got somebody who's smart enough to reject the mainstream, but they take the fake exit and they go into Trutherville and they think they have the truth. It's like, no, they've repackaged the same propaganda. They made it palatable for your side. The Black Hand side says, we live in the land of make-believe. Yeah, make-believers. They lie to themselves. And the thing is, too, one of the big distinctions is I'm not pro-offering a set of beliefs. I'm not telling people what to believe. I'm saying if you're a believer, you don't belong here. Because what we're doing is we're separating a chunk of this, I'm not going to say community because it's really loose-knit, but the demographic of people who see through the fake news, we're cutting away a chunk of it, and we're self-separating from those who haven't figured out certain basic things. There are people stuck in 2002, mad at George Bush, mad at the Pentagon. There are people who still have these slogans just imprinted on their brains. They can't get past things. And I'm not trying to explain things to them again and again, the laggards. So you've got the early adopters, you have the late adopters, and then you have the laggards, the ones who say, I'll never own a flip phone. Big Brother's not going to chase me around. And they eventually will. Well, we're the early adopters here. We're early adopters to the off-world stage perspective, and we understand what that means. The majority of people in the red pill group are a mix. They don't have a coherent philosophy when it comes to how they process media. We do. And that's why we're breaking away from it. But there's a large number of people I think will see value in this once they understand how bereft of meaning Trutherville has become. It's all engagement bait, lying truthers, dishonest claims. I mean, imagine dancing like a monkey for pennies for Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk is cranking that music grinder thing and little monkeys dance. Well, these content creators are the dancing monkeys, because it's like, well, if I can just get 50,000 clicks or 50,000 engagements, I'll get a penny. It's like, how much money are you guys even clamoring over? The real money is in MSM Plus, if you can stomach that stuff. I mean, if you look at somebody like Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, they're trafficking in some very, I think it's just agitprop. I wouldn't even call it extreme. It's just recycled, but it's very effective at getting engagement. And now all their infighting has a lot of attention on them. And it's like, look, if they're all on the same side of the faction on the right, like they're not just right, they're all woke right, then their infighting doesn't matter. The Air Already Here says, Kubrick's hand in the ongoing MSN Lolita Express, Kubrick's movie Lolita. Yeah, I brought that up, and there's a continuity between Lolita and Eyes Wide Shut. Because Eyes Wide Shut does have a very disturbing context about the trafficking of children by the elites, which I'm not saying is true. There's a reason for it, though. I think what they've done is they've set up years in advance. They set the stage for the whole Q thing, which was basically built on a satanic panic model. Not a coincidence that Pizzagate preceded the popularization of the Epstein story. Because the basic story is the world leaders are compromised by blackmail, and America is under the control of this other country that dominates the whole world. And that's the right-wing woke. That's their big revelation. I'm a woke person. I'm pilled on this. The black hand side says the gig is rigged on TikTok. No more income earning. The whole system is pretty much rigged. It's definitely not fair. We were able to, monetize and make money on YouTube for a time, but it's not something that you can build as a foundation, which is why we're doing PSYOP trading cards, which is why we're in publishing. I learned long ago that no, it's too easy for them to disrupt this system, and they don't care. There's no accountability. I mean, they care if you sue them, which I did. But they play games, so it's not even worth it. And another thing too, TikTok and these other things, it's all driven towards getting people who want engagement bait. Like, I'm not looking for engagement gooners. Like, I'm not looking for people who are addicted to dopamine hits. We don't need that stuff. We don't need them. We don't need believers who believe headlines, who look for breaking news. Like, I'm not here breaking news. Hey, this just happened. Because it didn't just happen. We don't know that yet. We know it's being reported at this time, but that doesn't mean it just happened. And just because it's been reported doesn't mean you have enough information to call it real, nor do you have enough information to just arrogantly say, oh, it's fake. Well, how do you know it's fake? You need more information, context. So what we do as skeptics is we suspend judgment, tolerate a little bit of ambiguity, take a bit of an agnostic stance until we get facts on our side. And if the facts support the claim, then you don't say, I believe it, or you don't have to necessarily say, like, I believe it because I trust them. I believe it for these reasons, in addition to the reports. Inform